Hi, it is time to get creative, and for Halloween I am bringing back Stitch and Bitch. This time we're not knitting, but we're doing embroidery. This video is also kindly sponsored by Skillshare, and I will talk about that a little bit later, about how I used Skillshare to get started with embroidery again. But I also want to talk about my history of creativity, like things I used to do as a kid and where I get my inspiration from, and how to, as an adult with a busy life, you can like push yourself to be creative. Also, you might want to grab yourself a nice cup of tea, which I would have done if I wasn't busy like holding 5 bajillion things. While I introduce the topic, I'm just gonna try and get started on this. So I used to make videos on my channel called Stitch and Bitch, in which I would basically do knitting. I really enjoyed those videos, and I think a lot of you did as well. I'm actually going to be looking down for half this video. But then I kind of stopped knitting, and then just picking up knitting to do a Stitch and Bitch video just didn't make a lot of sense. Oh, I've already gone very wrong here. So I sort of dropped it, but I miss it sometimes. It was nice. This scary. Okay. Let's try that. First of all, because it's Halloween, what I'm attempting is to do a quote with some flowers around it, which will become visible as I make them. And the quote is, "Beware, for I'm fearless and therefore powerful," from one of my favorite creepy classics, Frankenstein. My history with embroidery is that my mother is very creative. She's always been a crafty person, I think. As a kid, I was always doing crafty stuff. I wish I had like a second camera set up so you could see what I'm doing. I mostly did like paper and coloring related stuff as a kid. I was really into that. But my mom was always working with like fabrics, I feel, mostly like a lot of crocheting, things like that. Oh, I've gone wrong. Not that much knitting, although she and my grandma used to like knit sweaters for me. I had like a beautiful embroidered piece on my wall as a kid. And then recently, when I started getting back into crafts, my mom quilted me this adorable little basket to hold all my supplies in. We went to a quilt shop in London and picked out some fabrics. And as a kid, I did learn to knit. I learned to crochet. I did this thing called binneken in Dutch, but I don't know what it is called in English. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments. And I loved making friendship bracelets. I used to make like really thick bookmarks out of the sort of, with the sort of like knots you do to make a friendship bracelet. I was really into that. I think it combined my love of like patterns and like logistical thinking to try and make these like crazy cross patterns. This is what I did. I didn't go outside as a child. I just read and did crafts pretty much. There was one year where I embroidered Christmas cards for all of my friends, but also, this is probably when I was like 12 or 11, but in like classic me style, I didn't finish them on time to give them to everyone in school. So like I think on Christmas Day, I was running to everyone's house to be like, here's your Christmas card. Ugh. Let me show you the tiny bit of progress that I've made. We also had craft classes in school, which was for boys and girls, which I think is great. But I was a little Hermione in primary school, and because I already knew how to do lots of these things, I always was the first person to finish, and I always wanted to do the extra chores, and I was always helping the boys who like couldn't quite figure it out. That was my favorite class because I just loved being the fastest at it, which is terrible. You'll be happy to know that this has not gone away, because I recently went to an event that was set up by Oh Dear, who's like a stationery company. They did a like hour-long calligraphy class, and I was really excited. And my like school competitive spirit like instantly returned. I was like, oh no. Embarrassing for everyone involved. I'm sure it has its like pros and cons when it comes to having a personality like that. I didn't do as many like crafts related to like fabrics as I did drawing and painting. And throughout my like early teenage years, I was doing lots and lots of watercolors and things like that. It was around the time that I discovered Harry Potter. That's when I started drawing characters and things like that for the first time. And I still have that whole collection, and when it starts, it is pretty bad because I'd never properly drawn people before, and so there's this amazing collection of pictures where you can see my progress. I by no means became really good, but I started in a bad place. Now I have to go to the next letter. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to get a new thread. I'm gonna be cheeky and just continue because this is the first one that I'm making. It's not gonna be perfect anyway, so I think that's fine. I keep putting down my needle and then losing it. Also just went to the Harry Potter exhibit at the British Library, which is really, really cool. And they had drawings there of J.K. Rowling drawing the map of Hogwarts and like the grounds around it. And I have a drawing that I made when I was like 13 or 14 that is very similar, where I tried to figure out like the map of Hogwarts. If you're interested in ever like seeing a video of me very self-indulgently just like going through all these hilarious old drawings, which will mostly be Harry Potter themed, let me know and I might make one. But then over the years I must have slowly stopped doing things like that, and I think by the time I moved to London, which was about 5 years ago, I was barely doing any drawing or anything like that. I think I tried to revive it once where I did draw something every day in October. I think this was before Inktober was a thing. I remember that was really, really fun, but then after that I didn't like pick it up again or anything. But then recently at work, some colleagues started a sort of stitch and bitch club that we do during lunchtime, and I started crocheting again. And then I was watching people online who were doing embroidery, and I got really excited and I wanted to pick it up, but I was a bit scared. I wasn't quite sure where to start because it looked quite difficult, even though it was one of those things where I was like, I kind of knew that once I would start, I would probably be fine, but I just wasn't sure where to start. I've done 2 letters. Okay, I'm gonna move on to like a different bit for now, just so I can use a different color. Which is this lovely green. So when Skillshare got in touch and I was trying to figure out what kind of video I wanted to do, I thought, this is the thing I want to learn right now, and I'm lost and I don't know where to start. Okay, which flower shall I start with? I think I'm gonna do this one. So I'll tell you a little bit about what Skillshare actually is. It is an online learning community. See if I can do this in combination with embroidery. They have over 17,000 online lessons to choose from. So you can go into the website and check it out, and that's free. But if you get a premium membership, which is about £8 a month, you get access to everything, like all the premium lessons. And they've given me a link to put in the description, and the first 100 people that sign up using that link will get the premium membership for free for 2 months. So if there's anything you want to learn, go check it out. It has stuff from like public speaking to how to film videos on your iPhone and things like video editing, photo editing, and also more crafty stuff. For example, embroidery. The lesson that I watched was Hand Embroidery Fundamentals with Alice, who is a contemporary embroidery artist. She seemed very cool, and the lesson was very calming to watch, almost like ASMR. It was really nice to see like close-ups of the embroidery. And then the great thing as well is that you can see if other people have joined the lesson, they can post their work once they're done with it. So everyone does all these little different projects that you can see. But it is just a nice, very sort of organized and non-overwhelming way of getting started with something. It just answered a lot of the questions that I had, because I went to a shop and tried to buy the stuff that I thought I would need, but I don't know, I just felt pressured because I sort of went in asking for embroidery supplies, but I didn't really know what I was asking for. And I didn't really know what I was talking about, and I didn't know the right English words for it. So I had a bit of a like flustered experience, but then I went home and I watched these lessons and I felt a lot more comfortable, like sort of just knowing that I had a bit more information and wasn't starting from scratch, and it was a bit less intimidating, so that was really nice. So right now I'm doing one of the stitches that I learned in the lesson as well. So it talks about the different kind of stitches for the different kinds of things that you might want to be doing. Okay, I think I've reached the end of the little green bit. It's gonna be a little sprig of, I think, lavender maybe? It's very cute. I really like this. Alright, I'm doing a little flower now. I was trying to figure out what it is that I think has inspired me to start creating things like this again. And I think partly it's the fact that there's been so many people on YouTube doing really nice creative projects, and the fact that, you know, people are doing like hand drawing on their thumbnails. And then, for example, Kira Rose was doing little drawings with her monthly favorites. One of my good friends, Fran, is an illustrator, and it's just things like that. I think when you surround yourself with people who are creative, or you watch it online, then it is a bit infectious and you like want to do it yourself as well. I think that's what sort of inspired me to slowly get back into it, because I watched so many of Fran's videos. I also bought these Copic markers because I want to do more drawing. And that's the other tricky thing, is when you kind of feel like you need to have all the right supplies before you can get started. You have to have like all the best stuff, and that is obviously not true at all. You can start with something really simple. You can buy, you know, a needle and some thread and get an old t-shirt and just start doing some embroidery on there. Like, you can obviously start with almost anything. When I went to Toronto recently, I had another moment where I just got so excited about it because we found this shop. I think it was called The Workplace, maybe? Basically, they just had like walls full of beautiful fabrics, and the people there were so friendly, and I was sort of explaining that I wanted to start doing embroidery again, and she was so helpful, which is really nice. I just think seeing all of the stuff there was such a nice little boost. Everything was so colourful. I also bought these beautiful fabrics. This one has like space and rockets and planets on it, and this has lots of science related items on it. Amazing. And I think what I need to do for myself is just to keep making stuff, because it's the only way obviously that you're ever going to get better at it, is if you just do it. You can't just start and just expect yourself to be amazing, because it's gonna take some hours. And the people that are so skilled, it's because, you know, obviously part of it is talent, but so much of it is also just like the hours and the years they've put into it, and it's never too late to start. And I also really like doing things that are physical, because I do so much digital stuff already anyway. It's really nice to hold some fabric. I've now lost 2 needles in total, so that's going well. Before I end this video, I just wanted to quickly show you how I got started. So I made this very quick sketch. I'll insert a little close-up. Then I also got this pen, which is really handy, and it writes in white, which you can just see if you have like the right reflection on it. It comes out with water. And also what I wanted to do with this video was to just force myself to start, which I've now done. And that's the scariest bit. The scariest bit is doing that first stitch and breaking the barrier between your idealized version of what you think you might be making and like the reality of what you're going to be making. I hope you enjoyed this Frankenstein Halloween themed Stitch and Bitch. This isn't ready in any way. I mean, there was no way I was going to finish this during a whole video, but I've made a good start. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing Halloween, and I would love to hear if there is anything that you are sort of really interested in getting back into, but there is somehow you've had this like mental barrier to get started. Alright, that is it for me. If you'd like to see more of this, let me know. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and I will talk to you later. Doei!